Hey, Daniel, would you give me a picture that is a little bit Mormon? More Mormon. Make it more. Make it more Mormon. Little bit more. Just a teach more. Yeah, more.
Okay, we're all good. All right. Well, let's get this show on the road. So, welcome to the Extra Mo Show, faux show. Mm-hmm. And today, I've been critiqued a little bit, Glenn. If you want to know the truth, we've sometimes have put out an itinerary of things we will cover, and then we don't cover them. So we're not going to make that mistake today.
Are you talking about like, hey, I have an announcement at the end?
Yeah, like that. Like we're going to talk about these three topics.
Yeah, like, wait, I got home. Wait, what was the announcement?
Yeah. But we are going to let the Spirit guide us. And again, our whole point of being here is we're just flawed humans that believe in Jesus Christ, and we believe that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is true. And we want to share that with other people who might be struggling with that, because we've also struggled with that. So we're not going to put an itinerary together, but I did study Doctrine and Covenants, chapter 60 through 63. That was a loose thing that we can talk about. And then, Glenn, you have some books over there?
I got all kinds of books because I'm an academic.
And, a little behind the scenes, pretty irreverent start today. And so we're going to just wing it. So, but we do, I do want you to talk about that guy in the comments, though, later. That's one thing we do have to cover. Dan, you have a question, though.
Someone's going to remember it.
Yeah, I'll bring it up. I'll remember for you.
Thanks, Dan.
But I do have a question.
Okay, what's the question?
So, and I'm not like a scripture mastery expert.
No.
Believe it or not.
Okay.
However, there is a scripture, I think it's in the Bible.
Okay.
Or it could be the Book of Mormon, I don't know.
So he knows it's in one of the standard works.
It's in
Or the
the
Book of
canon
Mormon.
scripture.
Okay.
Or the DNC or Pilgrim's Great Price.
Okay.
Or the Articles of Faith.
Or one of those.
Well, something. Or it could be in the
or
opening.
the King Follett Discourse.
Yeah, anyway.
Forward.
Yeah. Who
Okay.
knows? Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
There's a scripture that says something along the lines of talking about the second coming of Jesus Christ, that no man knoweth the day nor the time
Yes.
of the second coming. Mm-hmm. When do you guys think it's going to happen?
So we're going to go against that. My son has a comment about this. I'm sorry for coughing.
I didn't mean to catch you off guard that
Wow,
much.
you really freaked Travis out.
I know.
You're like, when's I going to...
A lot of the things they say don't worry about are the things that are really intriguing
I
to
just
me.
did that right into the microphone. Sorry,
That
Mr. Dan.
my ears are bleeding.
I have thought about this. I think a lot of the early members of the Church of Jesus Christ, when they got baptized and came across the plains,
Right.
and they were literally seeing miracles. And then you got to remember, like the Civil War was coming. So they thought this is it.
Oh, yeah.
This is it's
Early
Jesus will be it.
Saints thought, yeah.
And then there was another epic where that happened. I mean, you had the big Spanish flu pandemic. You had the World War I, World War II. There's been all these times where everyone's like, this is for sure it. And for sure, that dude is the Antichrist. And now I hear it's like Elon Musk is the Antichrist. Donald Trump is the Antichrist. And the only reason I mention this is because this is a true story. My wife and I were watching a general conference back when, right after the pandemic had hit.
Okay.
And my wife she's not one to worry about this stuff. She just had this feeling like, this is it. The end times are here. So she's looking on the stand for a dude that's not supposed to be there. Like, which one of those is Jesus? And then in her mind, she's like, but he won't have robes on, obviously. He'll have like a nice suit on.
Yeah.
And then my mind automatically went to like, so he's going to return to Earth, and then he's going to like go hit up like a suit store.
Men's Warehouse.
It's got
Yeah,
no,
then
it'll be Mr. Mac.
Then
It's
it's
got
all
to be
Mr.
Mac, yeah.
Mr. Mac
Yeah.
with the missionaries.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe it's
Anyway.
Deseret Book and he buys like a temple suit.
I guess it's a long way to get there, but I'm
Probably
saying
DI, if we're going to be honest.
That's a good point.
I would not be surprised if it was tomorrow. I also would not be surprised if my children don't even get it, which I was thinking the other day. My youngest children, if they live to be 70, 85 years old, will literally be at 2100.
That's crazy to think about.
If you think about it.
That is crazy.
So
Yeah.
you're saying you think it's soon?
No,
Ish.
it's a
Give
long,
or take 100 years.
flowery way to say I literally don't know, and I've pondered that before. There's no way to know, man.
Yeah, that's fair.
I will say,
I don't like your answer, but
I
it's
will
fair.
say there's a lot of things that seem to match Revelations.
I know.
You have governments toppling. You have the Gadiant robbers are just rampant.
Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
Yeah, she's floating on top of her bed, 6 feet up. What is it, Glenn?
6 feet above her covers.
Yeah, that's right. Ghostbusters quote.
I know that I just hope it comes before the doctors have to amputate my feet.
That's
but if I had to guess what it was going to happen, I actually would like it to be like while we're filming this and we leave and we're like, what happened out here? Sooner than later. But no, I don't think it's.
I don't think we're there.
I don't think we're there.
I don't think it'll be my life.
There's too much that has to happen. Yeah, I don't think I'll live to see it. I know that.
I don't know if I should share this
our
next part.
generation has had it easier than any ever. We didn't go to Vietnam. Iraq was a television show. Like, unless you were enlisted.
I did watch a lot of
None
MASH.
of us got drafted, right? It's like we've had a pretty easy go.
We did.
Our generation. So, yeah, I don't know, man. But no, I definitely think you're going to see temples all throughout China, Russia, before this happens. And I think there's a lot that has to happen. And I think, Matthew, what is it, chapter 26, right? One of the things, the revelations about the second coming of the Lord, I have some theories about this, but one of them is that, people will, it'll be like a thief in the night, and I think that's a spiritual thing.
right.
Like, people won't be ready, so he'll come as a thief in the night. Like, they'll be like, well, but as far as the physical thing and what's going on in the world, I mean, read about what's going to happen before he comes. Like, the righteous will literally just be like, and I hear people say all the time that they're praying for it right now. No, they're not. Life's good. The righteous will be praying for it to end, right, because of how bad it is. And we've got that, according to the scriptures, that has to happen for a long time. You got to suffer for a long time, So I think the important part of that question is, where are we at in our lives, and are we ready?
Right.
I know this. Somebody was mentioning yesterday or today, like, oh, where did I hear this? Every single session of General Conference last time mentioned the 10 virgins.
Yeah, that's true.
Every single session.
That makes me think maybe it is sooner rather than later. Also, do you guys want to hear something? I was going to maybe not share it, but it's not. It was a public prayer. But when I gave Thor his baby blessing, I said that he would see Christ's return.
What
now,
was that? The episode
because I'm a frail man, when I said it, I can remember how I felt. It felt like you ever have those prayers blessings where you give them and they're like,
Sure.
You're not doing. But then immediately I doubted.
But because you didn't understand it, maybe he will see him return. Doesn't mean in this life or.
Does that fall under the purview of what we were talking about earlier? That
Maybe
men of
what?
God, when they make a promise,
I don't
God
know,
will
man.
uphold it?
I think
not in stewardship.
you can easily justify, like Glenn, not saying you're justifying, but you could easily say that it could be fulfilled many ways, right? It doesn't
Sure.
mean he's still in the mortal life or something. But I will say when I said it, it didn't feel like that. But then the thing I want to really point out is I said it, and it was like I was in that moment, like when you're on your mission, where you just feel like you just are a man of God. And then immediately in the prayer circle, I immediately doubted.
Well, yeah, Peter
Yeah.
walking on water.
Which was a
Immediately.
weird feeling.
We've all been there. Good question, man.
Yeah.
Hey, so
also
are we
the
ready?
scriptures you're talking about are Matthew. Let's see. I went farther away. Matthew 24:36 and Doctrine and Covenants 49:7.
What?
That no man knoweth the time.
I thought it was
yeah.
49:8.
I think chapter
close.
26 is the one talking about all the calamities, or 24, 25, somewhere in there. But yeah, no, we are definitely. I mean, if you're watching the news, which I try not to do anymore, I mean, I don't think people realize how close our country is to just being done, hanging by a thread. I mean,
Which is one of the prophecies that has
yeah, I
happened.
mean, we're there, dude. Like half the country hates it. Half of our country won't even fly a flag of our country in it as they
I'm going to
as they
answer
protest to try to live here.
my own question.
Yeah, tell us your opinion.
5-10 years.
5
Really?
to 10.
5-10. Get your affairs in order.
So those guys that have like 20-year prison sentences are like, I hope Dan's right.
Great. As soon as I start getting rich off the extra Mo show.
Yeah.
Right when we start making tons of money.
As soon as we
good.
have enough sponsors to just pay the rent on this place.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Cha-ching.
I know. It's like, I do.
5 to 10 years is very feasible, dude. Like, look at where we were 10 years ago.
It does seem like things are accelerating.
Yeah,
right?
and then look where we're at.
The 80s was like time stood still.
I look at
And
it
then
as
the
like
90s was like better because you had like a really good Beastie Boys album and like
Yeah.
Pearl Jam.
Sum 41.
But then all of a sudden it went from like 2000 to like now it's like so much stuff has happened.
This is what I think. Like, you know,
Like
when you
the
get
iPhone, the iPad,
you know when you get on a roller
they weren't even in
coaster,
existence
Yeah,
in the 2000s.
Yeah.
you know, you get on like a roller coaster and it like takes you up the top like ting 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 ting. That was like 2000 to 2010, right? Maybe like 2015.
Bro.
And then it was like we're coming over
I had
the
a different life
crest,
experience.
coming over the crest of like the,
I
you
get
know,
what he's saying, though.
and then it's like, dude, now like the 2020s are here, and it's like I feel like we're on the free for all.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like,
We're about to hit
whoa,
the
here we
loop.
go.
It's insanity, right? It's
Yeah,
insanity.
it's freaking nuts.
I look at just people, and I'm like, what percentage of the population has completely lost their minds? I really think we're at like half. Like, I don't want to be judgmental, but I swear, like, half the people I talk to, I'm like, are you even in there?
They're an NPC.
If that makes any sense,
What if it's you that aren't in there?
it's very possible.
it's Glenn.
Because
I do
they're,
wonder that sometimes.
It's Glenn and
because I'm saying
I'm
that.
saying they're so crazy, but maybe it's me.
I'm saying, are you even in there? And all they're hearing is, yeah.
Get off my lawn.
That's all they're hearing.
And you typed it.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
weird part. And they still hear that.
Anyway, good question. I like it. So the key, the reason why that question's valuable, right, is where are we? The reality is, at any given time, we can be taken. You know, I
Yep.
just read about this little girl, a 14-year-old girl that died in Lehigh at the fairgrounds or something. Was that?
That was my son's first crush.
Oh, it's horrible, bro.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
bummer.
you think about the parents and stuff, and you're just like, okay, so where is that? Luckily, we have the.
I probably
the-
shouldn't say that if he watches it, but too late now.
Yeah.
We can always edit it in post. You just let me know.
No, it's okay. It's better than my first crush, Oprah Winfrey. But-
First and last.
Wow.
Anyway,
Mine's-
So many options.
Yeah,
back then.
dude,
yeah.
Oprah.
oh man,
All
Color
right.
Purple. It just worked.
You just wanted
Anyway.
her because she was giving away cars.
Yeah, I did.
I see the connection.
And I want a Pontiac Sunfire. What was the junk car she gave away? Remember?
It was.
It was like
something-
Pontiac's like, here, just give these away. Nobody wants them.
and people were just like, no, I don't want to pay the taxes on that.
Yeah, I don't want to pay that. Yeah. Anyway, so that's good. We need to evaluate our lives and see where we're at, you know, because
I mean, I
at
guess a
any
good
given
chance.
time.
A better chance that we're definitely all dying
Yeah,
not that long.
yeah. So
You guys before
be
me.
ready.
I'm more than halfway there.
I would love to do an episode where we talk about the universalist stuff because I think a big reason people don't have faith in God is because the fear doctrine story, it doesn't compute with all the knowledge they have anymore. And it's like heaven and hell and damnation and
You know,
all
like
this
the
stuff.
pilgrim
that they-
version of
sure of God, and
Like
it's
the
like
nature
if they
of
could
God.
just understand the real nature of God. Like I love talking about C.S. Lewis because I know that guy received revelation. I know he received
He had
personal
to have.
revelation, dude, and he gets it. He gets it all. And I'm like, you know, I wish everybody could understand. Like, no, you don't want to obey the commandments so that you don't go to hell. You want to obey the commandments so the next phase of your mission, the spirit world, is easier.
Yeah.
That's all.
So
You
you're
just
shooting
want-
free throws.
You just want
so
it
you
to
can
be
get better at free
easier.
throws.
Yeah, you just want, and then the phase after that, easier, right? I'd love to get into an episode where we just talk about, because I'm shocked at how many people I know that have never read a lot of that stuff. You know, it's like, the gospel of Jesus Christ makes way more sense when you talk about it on another level.
You
like
ever hear
that.
some of those universalist sermons? They're pretty hairy, man. With
Well,
like-
you talking about sanctioned
old-
priest of authority saying it, or just
no,
other churches?
I'm talking about the old Protestants,
Oh yeah.
where it's
Some of
like
that's-
the Mayflower type, burn the witches type Christians.
Yeah.
That was pretty heavy.
Church would be
Anyway,
pretty cool.
we'll get into that. We'll get into. Well, I think we should do an episode about that where we do a question and answer that has nothing to do with the Latter-day Saints or the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, where it just has to do with believing in God and Christianity as a whole. Like one of the books down here is by David Limbaugh. It's a lawyer proving that basically Jesus Christ is real, and it's like the evidences of Jesus. He's not LDS or anything. He's a Christian.
All right, it's a good teaser.
So we'll get into that. But
let's dig in on one of those books you got there, or whatever topic.
Yeah, let's do it. So we always like to just talk about one thing that people is a source of doubt for people, right? We addressed a lot of the CES letter, and a lot of people don't realize that we have addressed a lot of the CES letter because we're kind of doing it. Not this point A of the CES letter, B, C, D, but we're talking about a lot of the things without opening the CES letter and reading it.
Yeah.
So, but the last several episodes,
I don't mind talking about it.
it.
I don't want to introduce it to people.
No, I don't want to introduce it.
It's like,
But we've talked a lot about it. That's basically what we've been talking about almost every week is this rebuttal to the CES letter. But here's one that I thought's interesting. This was just sitting in my office. Read this a few years ago. I'll tell you a quick story to introduce this. I might have already said it on the podcast. No one ever listens to more than one episode, though, so it won't be redundant. Yeah. But basically, I had a guy who was leaving the church. And again, I talked to a lot of these people. And he's like, I just don't believe the temple ceremony. I don't believe in the temple and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay. I'm human. I've had doubts about that. Tell me about it. And he goes, well, I just think, Joseph Smith made it all up. And I said, oh, okay. And I'm like, so what about the covenants that you make in there? And he goes, yeah, that's just nothing different between that and just trying to be a good person and everything. So basically his whole thing was, I just don't believe in it. I just think Joseph made it up. And he said, and he copied the Masons. And I remember I can't promise you it was from the Spirit, but I remember it popped in my head what to say to him. And I said to him, so let me ask you this. You think the ceremony is made up, and you leave the church, and you separate yourself from God, so that, as I said earlier, the next chapter is more difficult for you in the spirit world, right? And I said, so you separate yourself from him, and can I ask you how dumb you would feel if this happened? You meet the Savior, and he says, why'd you leave the church? And you say, because I think Joseph Smith, I thought he just made up the temple. It just didn't make sense to me. He just made it all up. Can I ask you how dumb you will feel if, and it's a big if, right? The Lord just looks at you and goes, well, he did make it up. I told him to.
Right.
I just told him to come up with these covenants and... if, and again, guys, I'm just spitting balling here. Like, I'm just putting it in this gentleman's head. You left the church over this one thing, and then the Lord, what if he told you he did make it up? He was a Mason, and he thought, oh, this would work. The Lord told me to put something together to make people think about their covenants and commitments. Would that be worth breaking those covenants you made in the temple? And I don't know if this brother was helped by it or not, honestly. But I want us to think about stuff like that. When all these people are leaving the church for this and that, which, gosh, guys, the last week, man, like 4 or 5 more people I know. I'm like, dude, what? One of them was like the nicest freaking guy in my old bishopric, like just leaves his wife and kids. Like, oh my gosh, man, I just can't even believe it. But anyway, so think about that as we talk about this. I don't believe Joseph made everything up. Do I think he took portions? I want to introduce another podcast called Church History Matters. If you guys have ever heard of that, I really like it. One of the Orem High's seminary president told me about it. Ben White's his name, told me about this podcast, Church History Matters. And these guys talk about the temple ceremony and if Joseph borrowed stuff from the Masons. But anyway, along that story, it says the LDS Church also receives a constant barrage of false negative attacks. And then they go on to say, so do the Masons. And that's true, right? You guys see that? Mm-hmm. all over the internet. It's just like the Masons or the Illuminati and all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Are some of those guys Masons? Maybe, right? I have my own theories about that. Like they want to appear to be normal, good folks, and really they're Illuminati. Maybe, right? But I don't think. I know Masons, and no, they're not. They're not like Gadiantans just because they're Masons, right? But they deal with a lot of that. Basically, so he's talking about they talk about the first times the temple was mentioned to the prophets. So early, before there was ever a temple, Joseph in Revelations talks about a temple. So a lot of the questions that Joseph Smith had about temples, it was because in Revelations he had received, like the angel Moroni, the Lord, it says, will suddenly come to his temple. And Joseph's like, what? So he's introduced to the idea of a temple. And Jesus in DNC 36:8 says, I am Jesus Christ, the Son of God. I will suddenly come to my temple. And then, later a temple happens, right? So just an idea like, I want to address that. I don't know if you guys have ever thought about that.
Well, I've thought a lot about this actually, and it's like nothing in the temple is literal, right?
Yeah.
It's all symbolic. And so are there going to be things that are earthly? It's like when it's going to be a weird analogy, but like, they like in alien shows and they come and they look human, like, why do you look human? Like, I took a form that I thought you could understand. And it's like, that's kind of what I think we're talking about. We're talking about things in the temple that are beyond our comprehension. And so there's symbols in there that we can kind of wrap our head around. Like, how do you get eternal life? Well, you have exactness. You have nourishment, both spiritual and physical. You follow the rules. And you don't, and they're eternal rules. There's a lot of symbolism around the compass, then that comes from a lot of Masonic stuff. But if you think about what that means, is that they're saying that we didn't make these rules, we follow them. Like the compass is to do math. Well, the math existed, and now they use it, right? And that's the same as with the gospel. It's like these rules that we're told to follow existed already. We're just being shown them. And so how do you teach someone like a little kid? Well, you use symbols. Even with our children, we'll say, hey, this is like this. Like I had to tell my daughter the other day, she was going to go to her first swim party. So I wanted to talk to her about like, well, if someone tries to touch you or anything, I wasn't going to go into graphic detail.
Right.
So I used some similes and some analogies. I didn't explain it to her because she's not there. She can't understand how evil certain people can be, and that she needs to follow these rules that I'm giving her. I couldn't tell her the real reason, right? And I think God does that to us sometimes, where it's like, I can't tell you the real reason. One, you wouldn't even understand it. Two, if you knew how dangerous it was in the universe, you would quit.
Right. Dude,
right.
If we were awakened to how much evil was within 5 blocks of our house,
yes.
we would just arm up and
we'd roll out
and hide behind our door, wait to. Yeah, I agree with you.
And so I think that's where it comes down. And then I think a lot of people get caught up in there, like, the symbolism, like it meant something to me. And then I didn't study it for 20 years. And then I'm mad at my wife, and then my bishop ignored me. And so now why that symbolism seems dumb now.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, I think it would. I mean, when you're first introduced to it, it's kind of like, whoa. And then you neglect it and ignore it. And then the world comes in and it seems pretty dumb. I mean, I totally get that logic, but I do think it's kind of interesting, Glenn, and I don't know what you guys think about this too a little bit, but like, have you ever been to a college graduation?
Unfortunately.
Okay. It used to be that they were pretty important, right? Because religion and education were really related, and you'd have this weird cap on. Mm-hmm. Can you guys vision what a cap looks like for a graduation? Yeah. Well, in that cap, they have a tassel that hangs off to one side, and it has a decorative piece on it. Mm-hmm. And what do you do when you graduate? You move it, right?
You're like, now I'm smart.
And you guys are, I mean, I'm not going to talk too much about what this is, but people who know, if you know, you know, that symbolism is happening in the temple. And we are graduating literally from one realm to another realm.
And they have
symbolically.
origins.
Yeah. So these origins are ways to symbolically do things. Now, were some of them made up? Yeah. It's like, hey, Glenn, come up with this
Maybe.
way. Yeah.
Maybe, right?
maybe not. We don't know.
But dude, we know, all of us have experienced revelation. And to what one guy means made up, another guy was prompted to do it.
Here's an
Because it
interesting
would
thing.
help people understand the ceremony or whatever.
I really get into like some like cool like geographical or geological like conspiracies. And if you look at Graham Hancock, he has a special on Netflix, and he's this guy. Everyone kind of makes fun of him because he's got these really out there ideas. But he found this like this place they thought was a mountain until like, how long ago was it? Like 20 years ago or something?
Yeah.
They just thought it was a mountain in like Indonesia. But then what it really was is they had stacked all of these basalt, like they're like 8-sided stones that are huge stones. They stacked them up into this mountain and made basically a temple. And then in this temple, Glenn, you enter in and you're on this one level in this chamber, and you would do a ceremony there, a symbolic ceremony. And then you would graduate to the next level up. And then you would do a ceremony in there, and you'd graduate to the third level. Even on this.
The same things are in the Mayan temples and everything else, right?
Yeah, and so it's like,
they all have
okay.
an origin.
Yeah. So if you're trying to teach your children, if we're God's children, and we're scattered all over the earth, and you would use something like a temple to be like, here's an eternal principle, and you guys are going to physically move so that you can understand what I'm talking about in this deeper thing. But we still won't get it. Just like my daughter still doesn't understand exactly
was
why.
it President Monson
Don't go in any bathrooms
in a conference?
with a strange person.
President Monson said once in a general conference, I remember hearing it, that he still learns something new in the temple every day, and he was like 700 years old at the time or whatever.
Yeah.
700.
Yeah.
I sometimes feel bad.
Somewhere. I'm not good at math.
I sometimes feel bad because I don't learn something every time.
No,
Sometimes
dude,
I
like,
barely stay awake.
Hey, let's talk about something that people will be really uncomfortable with.
Okay.
Because it's real.
Nice.
My temple experience was, I was looking.
You loved it.
I was looking around like, how do I get out of here?
Are you talking about your first temple experience?
Oh yeah, first time I'm like, dude, what happened?
You joined a cult.
That's what I thought, right? I'm like, okay, this is messed up. And so when these Exmos get on and post the videos, I mean, my poor daughter, not spiritually ready to see a temple ceremony. I know it's part of what kind of really hurt her faith, is these anti-Mormons are putting this whole ceremony on the internet, and it's like, you're not ready to see that. I was prepared to go, and I wasn't ready to see it. And, I remember the sweetest lady ever is waiting for me in the celestial room. Oh, Glenn, how was it? And I didn't want to tell her. I'm like, how do I leave? How do I never come back and see any of you people again? And again, I know that's going to offend somebody. Guys, that was a real, visceral, reaction to the temple for the first time for me. So
Right.
We can't, pick on people that don't, it wasn't until I was in a state conference in Manti once
You're saying we can't pick on people?
that, well, you can, but just not for this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No.
But a general authority, an area authority, I think it was a 70 in Manti in a state conference once said, and it was the first time I'd ever heard it because I was always like, what's wrong with me? He said, I never really went to the temple much or enjoyed the temple until I was in my 60s. And I'm like, oh, dude, thank you. That's refreshing. We don't hear that. All we hear is how amazing the temple is, which, guys, I agree that it is. I've said it before, I don't know if I could be a Christian with the theology of the Nicene, with the theology of what Christianity is, unless there was that provision, that temple provision for people accepting the gospel due to temple, But it was so uncomfortable for me.
It makes me really sad when I hear that, a baby died, and they're like, well,
yeah, they're going to hell. It's like, seriously? What kind of belief is that,
That's a
dude?
tough one.
That's crazy. So, but our religion's crazy to people. And I'm like, no, that is crazy. That cute little baby is going to burn in hell
they
now.
didn't get it.
Yeah, they didn't get to the baptism on time,
Yeah.
So I get the temple, but no, it's, guys, if you're struggling with this, it's okay. If anybody listening is struggling with, I don't feel natural
Come
in
down to
temple.
Curtis Auto and talk about the temple with
Dude,
Glenn.
it's okay. I believe it will happen, and let me tell you guys why. My patriarchal blessing, which we don't talk a lot about, says that my later years, I will find joy in I'll be the guy that's always at the temple, and I'm thinking, really? Like, I don't know, but
Do you
I
do the
believe it.
endowment mostly when you go to the temple, or what do you do when you go to the temple?
Yeah, I go through and do endowments. Last time I did initiatories, where I did kind of in and out. And don't get me wrong, it's kind of cool, but I'm an ADD type personality, and I need to be constantly on the move. And I always it's hard for me to get to the temple. Again, we're being real for people that think that there's something wrong with them. It's hard for me to get there because I'm like, I don't have the time to go sit and do nothing for
They need
2
like
hours.
a tour of Italy style temples.
dude,
Like you go do one initiatory, then you do like one ceiling.
I will say, other than that first experience,
Come on, Nelson, let's spice this thing up.
I will say that I never regret it now. And I've gone to the temple quite a few times. I will say that I've had real spiritual experiences in there 2 times. I'm not the guy who goes there to get... I feel the Spirit way more on Sunday doing the Lord's work or like helping people than I do in there right now. So guys, if you're not a temple-loving LDS person, that's okay. You should still go. I mean, go. You're helping further the work on the other side of the veil, which is one of the threefold mission of the church, right? Is that still a thing? The threefold mission of the church?
Oh yeah, it's always
it
will
is.
be, but
I just don't
they
think
don't
they
talk
talk
about
about
it.
Proclaim
as much
the
anymore.
gospel, redeem the dead, and whatever the third one is.
Proclaim, redeem, and why am I blanking it now?
I know, I just
I
blanked
thought
it
I
too.
totally had it.
Yes, perfect the same.
Perfect the
Perfect the
Saints.
Saints.
Oh, thanks, Mike.
Thank you. We have a visitor today. His name's Mike. He wanted to come and see what this was all about.
That's why you showed up, man.
Yeah.
Look at you.
It was that moment.
The
It was
Lord
that
knew.
moment.
Yes.
Yeah. Love it.
Well, we still have it, but they don't advertise it. Remember when you used to always have remember the 80s, Glenn? You don't
I
probably.
remember the
Hey,
80s.
easy.
Neon laces.
I was born in the
high
80s.
tops.
Yeah, but they don't. We
Run
always kind of have
DMC.
almost like a marketing campaign going. Like I remember, lengthen your stride. Do you remember that one?
Mormon ads. Gossip. Don't pass it on.
Mormon rap. Mormon rap.
Red
You
punch,
do the-
white cookies, and mint candies.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a
I
real
remember
thing.
the Mormon ads.
Yeah.
I had them on my walls.
Mormon ads are solid, actually.
Yeah,
They're
they were
actually way
solid,
good.
dude.
Hey,
but
real
now,
quick.
but it just doesn't sound right to call them the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saint ads.
That's a good thing. Mormon
true.
ads sounds better. Hey, but backing up though, really quick about what you were talking about, and how people have gone out of their way to take sacred things and put them online, like
Yeah,
you know,
it's pretty upsetting, dude. Pretty
temple
disrespectful.
sessions and things of that nature. But I was going to say, for those that haven't been to the temple, don't cheat yourself by seeking out what
Yeah, don't.
happens in the temple unless you are are ready to go to the temple.
Good point.
It's like the same thing to me. Like I tell my kids, like why should I wait to have sex until I'm married? Well, don't cheat yourself, out of a sacred experience that you can have with your spouse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the same thing with the temple. Like, don't go seeking out things that you're not prepared for and that you don't comprehend the consequences that it could potentially have until you're ready to actually partake. You know what I mean?
That's a great point. And if you wait, if you wait till marriage, it's less likely that she'll just laugh at you
Yeah, you don't
because she's your
especially-
wife now.
Yeah, she doesn't know anything. Doesn't know
Yeah.
anything better.
Yeah.
She thought she got the
wouldn't be that
best,
rude.
but she didn't.
She won't be rude like that. Yeah, that's just a good safety
She
tip.
won't say, put your shirt back on.
Hey. Yeah. We're giving a lot of good.
Yeah, it's good advice.
Hey, is the claim of critics valid that Joseph Smith stole the LDS temple ceremony from the Masons? For starters, why would Joseph Smith have to steal ideas? Okay, for the antis that think he made all of this up, you think he could make up all of the intricacies of this restored gospel, but he had to steal ideas for a temple ceremony. If he made this whole thing up, guys, if that guy's a false prophet, all the academics of the ages that have studied Joseph Smith, I mean, one of the guys in here says,
Hey, you just reminded me of something I have to say before I forget. It's like University of Connecticut. Why you look that up? Like University of Connecticut or Vanderbilt. It's one of those East Coast kind of uppity schools. has a Book of Mormon class run by a non-LDS professor and signed up for by non-LDS people. Like, it's not a church sponsored
I'm
thing.
just so curious to know if any of them have joined the church.
It's interesting because they study it and they loved it. And they gave it a lot of credibility of, like, as far as, like, you know, it's all worldly stuff, like, oh, what a great narrative. And it's very, you know, the name, the way they really study, like, the functionality of it. I should send you that link because I'm like, Glenn would love this.
Dude, I will love it.
But it was really cool because they were like, they didn't give it any credit for being from God. They're probably a bunch of atheists, you know, for all we know.
Sure.
But they
It's
were
probably
like
the
most
Bloom guy,
impact,
Dr. Bloom. Does that? Anyway,
It was
keep
a
going.
woman doctor, female doctor. But anyway, my point was like, it was kind of cool to see that, and that they named it like one of the most influential American pieces of literature out there, which I thought was, you know,
Yeah.
it's not, it didn't, it's less than the word of God, but it
This
was kind of
Harold
interesting.
Bloom says
No, it
there's
wasn't
no
that.
other figure remotely like Joseph Smith. This is not an LDS guy. He's an academic. There's no other figure remotely like him in our entire national history, and it is unlikely that anyone like him can ever come again. He transcends Emerson and Whitman. However, Bloom did not credit the prophet's work to revelation from God, instead calling it the religion-making genius of Joseph Smith. So my point is, if you have a religion-making genius, why do you have to plagiarize Masonry to come up with a temple
Right.
ceremony? It's a
Right.
great question. It's one that I just wanted to bring up, right?
I think that it's possible that he did borrow from it personally. I'm not saying he did, but
I would bet anything he did.
But for some reason, that's never bugged me.
Well, because one, he was a Mason,
Yeah,
and then he saw things in Masonry that were biblical,
it's like a family tree.
They were not translated biblically. They were. So he's like, "What's going on here?" He took that to the Lord from Masonry, and he's like, "What is this?" And that's where the temple ceremony was.
And why wouldn't
presented.
Masonry have a version of the truth from thousands of years before?
Hey, if the temple in Indonesia does,
Right.
If the Mayan temples do, yeah, why wouldn't Masons, right?
Of course they would.
So half of those who presented papers were non-Mormons. They praised Joseph Smith's remarkable achievements. No one gave him credit to God as the source. If this latest reasoning has merit that the origin of Joseph Smith's prodigious accomplishments were products of his mind only, would it not have been much easier and safer for Joseph Smith to produce a completely original LDS ceremony? So that's something to think about to help if you're struggling with this. Joseph Smith often came across biblical passages or other material that interested him or that he did not understand. By asking the Lord, he would receive clarification. That's a pattern, right? We're in Doctrine and Covenants. That's a pattern. He'd learn a new concept or see an Egyptian papyrus or anything, and he'd go to the Lord and be like, what is this? Many of the revelations indeed... Oh, that's what they're saying. This pattern of asking the Lord for the meaning of things led to the doctrines he taught his followers. When he was exposed to Masonic ritual, he certainly followed this procedure. What is this all about? Is there any truth in this, as he had done with other issues? So we do have that pattern and practice of Joseph Smith, you guys, to look at this temple ceremony and be like, he did the exact same thing.
Hey, Glenn, can you back up just a little bit?
Yeah.
On the, like, Joseph Smith being a Mason. What information do we know about that? What is that?
I didn't do a lot of... I think John Bennett was the one that got the first Masonic lodge put in Nauvoo. Like,
oh, okay.
That was Nauvoo. Anyway, I don't remember that.
There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
on
his brother was there was a lot of it. Yeah, I can prepare some of that. That's a good question.
From what I understand and what I've heard, is back in his time, it was very common for people to be a part of the Masonic group because it opened up networks and connections in business and being able to trade and do different things like that.
It was very honorable.
Yeah, it wasn't like the Illuminati and
you were an honorable. They were very respected. Masons were very respected, and Joseph Smith's like, hey, dude, I'm the prophet of a restored church. We should probably be Masons. You know, they're respected.
It's almost like it is back then. It was almost like being a part of Facebook. Like, oh, maybe we should be on Facebook so we can reach more people.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, yeah, good question. He would. I do remember the the answer to your question. I can't recall it right now.
That's okay.
He would have done this especially when he learned that Masons claim their signs and symbols came from the biblical Temple of Solomon. Then revelation from God helped him sort things out and finalize the LDS Temple endowment. So it's just something to think about. Like, I just wanted to address it before we get into our DNC today. Like, again, this is a big one. It's a big one. The temple, the ceremony, the Masons, right? The Exmos are plastering this everywhere, and it's making people lose faith, especially people whose temple experiences were like the one I can relate to, you know, where, yeah, I don't want to be irreverent about the temple because it's funny. I have a really strong testimony about the fact that the temple is like the endowment and all the work that's done in the temple is very sacred. I've had, like I said, I had a couple of experiences in there. One, my father passed away years ago, and he hasn't been at everything, but I knew he was there when my firstborn was born. I knew he was in the hospital. And the second time I had an experience like that with my dad that I can't ever deny is at my little sister's wedding in the Manti Temple. And I'm like, oh, my dad's here. So,
That's wild.
it's kind of cool, right? But does that mean I get everything in there? And it doesn't. It still kind of freaks me out sometimes. And I'm like a really active LDS guy who loves the gospel. But so if you're one of those people, it's okay. Don't let that be a source of doubt for you. You might end up like Thomas Monson at 80 something years old, and that's when you start really figuring out the temple. But you're still doing the work. Just have faith that you're doing the work. There's people on the other side of the veil accepting these teachings and making these covenants, and by proxy, we're doing those in the temple, and it helps us try to be better people so we can be worthy to be in the temple, right?
Yeah, I'm not like counteracting you, but I mean, I've always just, for some reason, really accepted the temple. Even how I can see how people would think it's strange, so I get it, but it never felt like that to me. I think the biggest thing I remember was my first experience. I walked in, and everyone was dressed in white, and they just looked so beautiful, but not like in a sense of like, you know, but
worldly beauty.
just like. And then also I remember there was like this weight was like pulled off my shoulders. Like I walked through a door that was only my size, you know, so everything else was just scraped off is the way I would describe it. And then when I left the temple, I felt okay for a while, but I could just feel it slowly piling back on. And actually makes me
turn
wonder,
around and go back in.
it just makes me wonder why I don't go more often, because I still feel like that.
I think about that a lot too. Like, why don't I go more often?
I don't have like, I feel like my wife will say that. So it's like, I can feel the presence of so-and-so and such and such. I never have had like that particular thing. It's more just a like, oh.
I had a sister.
It's so much so that I cannot stay awake during the endowment. I don't know if anybody else.
I had a sister in the church tell me once, and I believe her, that one of her spiritual gifts is she knows every single time.
Who is this? Your sister? You said?
Her name was Sister Hinton. She was from a mission.
A sister.
And she told me once, like, she knew every time if the person accepted or not. That was her gift.
Wow.
And she would break down crying sometimes about them accepting, and sometimes she would be really sad because she knew they didn't.
That is really
at
interesting.
the time.
I believe in gifts of the Spirit.
Sure, dude. Me too.
I have a family member. I won't say who it is, but she's currently not active in the church, and but she can be healed, like miracle level. She has such faith, or had such faith. I don't know how it works now, right? But I said, like, I remember once.
Still works.
I remember time we were working with you actually at Carsmart, and my wife called and she's really stressed out, and now it's probably going to be obviously less.
Yeah, they're
whatever.
like,
she won't watch it.
is Thor a girl?
No,
What's he say?
it was one of our somethings. Anyway, drove home. She's a little girl, and she's like laying on the couch, and she's just so sick. Like, you know, you see someone, they're sick, they're almost like a puddle. And I said, hey, do you want a blessing? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, what will happen if we give you a blessing? She's like, I'll be healed. And I'm like, okay. And I didn't necessarily believe it, so I just gave her a blessing. I had to get back to work, you know, slave away. And so I wasn't in a very spiritual mood, which also is another important thing, I think, too. Authority has nothing to do with.
Yeah.
I mean, you
we
should.
go on for hours about that.
Yeah, you should. Anyway, so I lay my hands on her head, give her a blessing, and I'm not joking. 30 seconds later, dude, her fever broke and she was playing on the ground and stuff. And we had multiple of those.
Yeah, people
But
that
my other kids, I never had that experience with any of my other kids.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just awesome, right? That stuff's so awesome. Like,
And I think everyone has kind of a different gift.
sure,
maybe-
I know they do.
Yeah.
Every single person has a spiritual gift.
Yeah.
I know they do.
Yeah.
It's up to us to find out what that is.
I think mine's just believing, like the temple. Like I've thought about it before. It's like people might make fun of it, like, well, that's just because you don't think. I do think. I don't know that I think, but I think, and I think I ponder, and I think I understand things. But I've always just had a pegged belief that God lives, and so sometimes I diminish that because other people have had these huge trials
Yeah.
to get there. But I actually feel like that is a huge blessing.
Yeah, I look at my wife like that. My wife is one of those people that
I can see that.
she sees all my critical thinking about everything
"Why
in
are
the
you
church.
worried about
And she's
that?"
like, "Why do you care? It's all true. What's your problem?" And I'm like, "How would that be, dude?" Like she
Yeah.
just knows,
Yeah.
and she does have faith to. I mean, yeah, I have seen miracles happen due to my wife's faith over and over. So yeah, and it's like I wish I was like that.
Yeah.
The critical thinker that has to get through everything, we kind of carry a weight.
Yeah.
Like it's like, yeah.
You remember Kung Fu, that TV show Kung Fu? With the white guy that played an Asian guy in the 70s?
No. I was thinking of the other
Look it
one.
up, Daniel. What's his name? David Carradine.
Oh no, that is the one.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That was.
And remember, he would do that, like, he'd be like in the Wild West, and then he'd have to do something hard, and then he'd think back to his training where he had, like,
Yeah.
he'd have to hold the boiling hot thing with his hands, and then he'd have to stick the pole in there, and, like, his spikes are, like, cutting his hands while he spins little stars.
Yeah, that was a great show.
Yeah, and he's doing it the hard way. That's what you're like.
So ahead of its time.
So you're like him, dude. You're like you can learn kung fu, or you can learn it the hard way. Where you're,
Yeah.
you know, doing it.
It's so ahead of its time, that show, though, right? Like
Yeah,
a white guy identifying as an Asian.
Guys, that's old.
Great
old.
That's
show.
before my time.
bro. It wasn't
19-
actually on. It was on what we called.
1972 to
It was
1975.
on one of the 3 channels that our dad would make us
We
get
had
up
3
and turn
channels,
to.
Daniel, and they were
Yeah.
on reruns. But
And
dude,
it was
that
like-
when Kung Fu came on,
Bro.
I was all
Life was
in.
hard, man. You'd like hold your pee till the commercial, you know, and then
And bro, when if you missed an episode,
you're done.
That's
You
it.
will never see it again.
yeah, it's gone.
Yeah.
Dang, dude,
Unless you
your
catch on
guys'
reruns.
Yep.
And
And
your
then sometimes
childhood
you'd
was
see like one
intense.
episode like 10 times.
His childhood was rough.
You get streaming.
It was rough. Yeah.
a freaking
Yeah.
wuss.
And you're like, and the friends are talking about it at school, and they're like, "Did you see Knight Rider?" And you're
Don't
like,
tell
"Yeah."
me.
And they're like, "Did you see this part?" And you're like, "Dude, that must have been when I went to the bathroom."
you never
and they're
had-
like, "You didn't watch it, you liar."
You never had this though, which is the most annoying thing. Don't tell me I'm going to watch it this weekend. I know.
Yeah. No.
Liar, because you missed it.
Yeah, you're not gonna watch it.
Yeah.
But then the VHS tape came out.
I remember my dad would bring home a
you're like,
Betamax
"Record
player.
it!"
Remember the Betamax?
Yeah.
Totally superior. It was a really interesting story on Beta versus VHS. Much better quality, but the marketing team for VHS was much better.
Yeah, we never got Betamax. We never.
Betamax? What is that?
Betamax, dude. Betamax was like the most legit. They were smaller and they had a better picture quality. So at my hometown,
like
they
8-track
they
tape size?
You'd walk into the store and you would go
Yeah,
right.
it was
and
almost like an
Beta,
8-track
and left
almost.
it was VHS, and you could rent on Beta and you could rent on VHS.
They were like that. They were smaller.
yeah.
Interesting. I didn't
But
know that.
then, we had a whole several shelves of VHS tapes, and then DVDs came out. And I remember being like, I'm not falling for it.
Do you
I'm
remember
not
when it
buying
was?
one.
And then you did fall for it.
Well, sure.
And then you.
So I had like $4,000 of living scriptures on VHS that we threw away, and then bought
thank
them all
you.
on DVD. Yeah.
Thank you. Us too.
And between the two, the kids watched like 3 total of those
And now
things.
we have a subscription to Living Scriptures. Those freaking jerks.
Yeah, dude.
They just look at our records. We dropped like $3,800 in like
Yeah.
1995.
You're walking through the mall. Oh, bro, we have to talk about this. I laughed my butt off about
Ours
this.
was a door-to-door guy. He's like, the Jensens referred us. I'm like,
Oh, ours wasn't. It was the guy in the mall, and you're like, I feel guilty if I don't go buy that because it's like Jesus cartoons. And then
You remember, right?
Yeah.
You want these?
you,
You
you want
believe?
your kids to
Do you
see
wanna go to
quality
hell?
stuff, right?
Do you wanna go to
yes.
hell?
How much is it? Only $700,000. Okay. Dude, my favorite part was seeing credit applications back in the day at work. And everyone's living scriptures was in collections.
Yeah, they're all in collections.
And I'm like, dude, did you just like totally screw over the living scriptures? I don't know, man. I don't know how you sleep at night.
Living Scriptures was huge on the collections.
Yeah.
I will say this: $3,800. And
is that what it was? I don't know. It was thousands
I got
of
the
dollars.
full package.
Maybe yours went to collections, and that's what the
$3,800.
religiously.
I wrote him a check. Dude.
Oh wow, not me. I did the monthly payment.
I wrote him a
like
check,
$50,
and the dude was just like cool about it. But I remember this. Like, so we moved to this house. So we had them 15 years, 16 years, I guess. And we moved to this house. We finally threw our last ones away, and they were in the freaking shrink wrap still. We'd only watched
Bro,
like
you could eBay that. Made
We'd
some
watch
money.
we'd watch like A King Is Born on Christmas, obviously.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, and that was basically it. And we had like stacks.
Yeah.
Of other ones.
And I
Are you
remember trying to
serious
be
though?
a good dad.
$3,800.
Yeah.
In the
I remember
90s.
trying to be a good dad.
In
Be
the
like,
90s. How much is that in today's dollars?
Dude, like 15 grand.
okay, guys, it's Sunday. The only thing you're allowed to watch is living scriptures.
I was doing mortgages, dude. I was freaking making bank back then.
Remember?
Yeah.
Remember that? Okay, it's Sundays. The only thing you're allowed to watch is living scriptures.
I'm like, my whole family's going to
but
heaven
then they
now.
see you watching like the jazz game, and you're like, yeah, this isn't going to work.
No, you guys watch Living
You
Scriptures.
guys, I'm more spiritually advanced,
Yeah, I've already
so I
seen
don't
them.
need to do that. I've seen all those.
I will say,
Anyway, that's
kind of
good.
cool. This is a true story. Like King is Born and several other of those cartoons. Orson Scott Card was the writer, the screenwriter, and he wrote. And Orson Scott Card, famous Provo author who wrote Ender's Game.
Oh,
Was he
I didn't know
was he an
that.
artist too, or no?
And but he did some of the music, and he did the like the screenplay. So like he's like, I wanted to be like this, and he did the framing of like kind of pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, good stuff. Come follow me this week. There's some good stuff in here.
I love it. Let's dig in.
Section 60.
Don't follow Travis and Glenn. Follow the Lord.
I didn't see that.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's good advice.
I'm just saying. There's been a couple comments about like some of the stuff we say. Yeah, we're just men, mortal men.
I love how we get ripped on there. The ones like the one because some of the shorts the hashtag is Exmo
Yeah.
and we get tagged there. So there's people defending the church against us. Have you noticed that?
Yes.
Not realizing that we're way active
Yeah.
LDS.
I'm like,
So it's
"What?"
like the last comment that had me laughing so hard was it's like the one was called Dan, what was it like? Don't sing the prophet or whatever. And so the
yeah.
one comment was, "Oh, so we're not supposed to listen to the prophet? Let me guess. You think we're supposed to listen to you?"
Are you serious? I didn't see that comment. That's
yeah.
hilarious.
So we probably should be
Dude,
a
I
little more
love the
righteous so
comments.
people think we're actually
Yeah.
members.
Yeah, we should probably let them.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll listen. But with some I am not well pleased, for they will not open their mouths, but they hide the talent which I have given unto them
Where are you
because of
reading,
the
bro?
fear of men. Section 60, verse 2. Woe unto such, for mine anger is kindled against them. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
We talked about your spiritual gifts. Do you all understand you have to find what they are? If you don't know what they are, as a responsibility you have. Right? When we read in the New Testament, Ephesians, and all the different parts of the makeup of the church, okay? Every Latter-day Saint brings something to the table. Every Latter-day Saint is important to the Lord's work. So he says, they hide the talent which I have given unto them. I'm going to take that a step further. Many don't even know what they have, So it's like, you got to find out what that is, and you can't hide that talent. You have to put it to use. It is so interesting. Like, so I'm in my 50s now, and my weird midlife crisis. I don't know. Other men that have gone through this, you can comment or whatever. Travis, you're up there in age too, man. So,
I'm in my 51st year.
yeah, okay, me too. Or a second, whatever I'm in.
No, 51st year. In October, you'll be older than me.
The health questionnaire on the computer, my real age says I'm like 74.
Yeah. Mine just
But
said, it just
chronologically, I'm
went
51.
beep, like flatline.
Mine's like, how are you alive? Yeah. So my question, the temptation for me, and I decided to get up in testimony meeting because I like to fight the temptation. So last Sunday I got up in testimony meeting and I was like, or whenever testimony day Sunday was, and I said, because I'm feeling tempted to withdraw from everything, I'm going to share my testimony, like to fight against it. That's the midlife crisis I'm having. Is like, dude, quit putting yourself out there, quit trying to fix people's problems, quit trying to help everybody, and just withdraw and do your thing and focus on you and
Netflix and chill.
All the trendy themes going around, your own mental health and your own, what you
Me
need.
time. I need me
time. And it's like, I'm telling you, that's not productive. Like, that is not how you find happiness, is worrying about yourself ever, So, I liked reading this. Woe unto such from,
Before you go
don't
to
hide the
61,
talent.
let me know.
Before you go to what?
Don't go to 61 until you let me know.
It says in verse 3, guys, if they are not more faithful unto me, it shall be taken away, even that which they have. Have you guys ever noticed that? I have too. Like, you have this spiritual gift, and then you don't put it into practice, and then you're like, man, I don't have any faith, or this ability that I used to have is gone. You have to practice.
Yeah.
You have to put it into practice, right?
Glenn, one of the things you've always talked about was like, well, and it's one of the arguments against Joseph Smith, like he maybe made up stuff or whatever. I think 4 and 5 really speak to this. So the Lord's talking, and he says, I, the Lord, rule in the heavens above and among the armies of the earth. And in the day when I shall make up my jewels, all men shall know what it is that bespeaketh the power of God. So he's basically hyping himself up, right? I don't mean that in a negative way, but he's talking about, I'm all powerful.
Yeah.
And so he could totally do all of this. But then he says, but verily. So I like how it's like, but in verse 5. Mm-hmm. So I'm God. I'm all powerful. But verily I will speak unto you concerning your journey unto the land whence you came. Let there be a craft made or bought as seemeth you good. So to me, it's like this big but. It's like, I could totally do this for you, but you do it yourself. Do as seemeth you good. It mattereth not unto me.
Yeah.
A lot of times people are like, should I take this job? Should I move to this state? Should I do this other thing? And I think sometimes it doesn't matter to God. It isn't that he doesn't care. It's that.
Yeah, you talked about that with your move to.
Yeah. It matters not unto me. And take your journey speedily for the place which is called St. Louis. So however you get there, get to St. Louis. Get to the destination, and it doesn't matter. And I think that's like, you can be like that with Joseph Smith, where you're like, well, I need you, Joseph Smith, to make some sort of symbolic ceremony for the temple. And I want it to be this parameter and this parameter. You go and make it any way you want now. And he's like, well, I'm already a Mason. I'll borrow from there. And then I'll look at like the king,
and a lot of it's
what coronation ceremonies of all these kings, because we had just come from England not too far before. Have you ever looked at the coronation robes of the king?
Yeah. What about the girl from? What's the
basically
girl's
temple
name?
robes.
What's the girl's name from Scripture Central that went off on her own?
Rapalai.
Yeah, she has a post out today about them finding like.
It's like Jasmine Rapalai.
Yeah, finding some kind of garb that they wore.
The necklace thing?
The
garments?
Yeah, it was like garments, and it was like for protection and
it was a thing
against sin and stuff like that.
Because they probably couldn't make garments, because they didn't have machines. So there was a thing they wore around their neck, and inside it was a scroll that had like certain covenants they would make.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, you want evidence of the gospel? Just wait. It keeps coming.
Can we switch to necklaces? That'd be kind of nice.
That'd be dope, dude.
Especially when it's 90 degrees outside.
I'd get a coral choker, and then I'd be like, hey, brah.
Coral choker.
Hey,
I'm going surfing, dude.
Here's an important one, brother. In verse 13, thou shalt not idle away thy time, neither shalt thou bury thy talent, that it may not be known. And when I was talking to you guys about my, what I'm going through, in my, whatever you want to call it, I don't know if it's called a midlife crisis, whatever. Maybe it's just called getting crazy as you get old.
Have you bought a Corvette yet?
Kind of. Yeah, I bought a few things. Thou shalt not idle away thy time, neither shalt thou bury thy talent. So here I am worrying about me time and like wanting to withdraw, not be as involved. And, guys, sometimes it's taxing, man. And the Eskimos jump all over it, right? It's a high demand religion. We always talk about that. And, yeah, I mean, there's meetings, and you know, I complain about it sometimes. I'm just gonna admit, right? It's like every Sunday morning, your bishoprics early, and then word council, and then sacrament, and then you're going after, and then you got during the week, and then you're running your business, and you're a dad, and you're supporting your kid, and dude, it gets overwhelming. But I will say, like, when the temptation is to pull away, I can't do it. I just can't do it. It's like I want to, but I know I can't. So I'm really glad that, testimony meeting, I'm not sure anybody wanted to hear from me, but I'm glad I got up and was like, no, I'm not going to I'm going to stand up and do what I do. I'm going to open my mouth, like it says in verse 2, and go on. Now,
No, if they don't like it, they can move, Glenn, out of your ward.
dude, I'm surprised they haven't.
Yeah, take a hike.
But then what? I'm like the only guy in my ward.
The only dude.
Yeah, you're the only person.
Wait a
No, you're
second.
saying eventually.
Mike's not going anywhere.
Mike's like, I'm chopped.
I like at the end of 61, he does talk about, and inasmuch as ye have humbled yourselves before me, the blessings of the kingdom are yours. Gird up your loins, be watchful, be sober, looking forth for the coming of the Son of Man. Pray always that you enter not into temptation. So he's, these verses, he's kind of stern, right? Doctrine and Covenants, you get a lot of that. But it's always like, hey, you'll be forgiven if you just humble yourself, if you're obedient, right? Talks about humility in 61:2. It's finishing, and I'm merciful to those who confess their sins with humble heart. It's only heavy if you don't do it. But
Well, I think that's a major theme of these is like, I'm asking you to do things. Some of them are hard. You won't be able to, but I'm merciful.
yeah.
And like you're saying, wear yourself out, work hard, get to St. Louis, as it were. And
This is all about the missionaries, right? He's like,
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Open your mouth, get to work.
Yeah.
But I wish the saints understood this concept. And I'm a loud preacher of this in a way. Like, you don't have to have a calling to lead. You don't have to have a calling to preach. I wish every brother in the war or church, every sister in the church understood. You don't go to church for you. You do, but that's not the main purpose. Like, because there's so many people that are like, I don't need that. I don't need it. It's not about you. You are supposed to be going out and listening for promptings for others. There are people that do need to go to church, and they need you to say what you're prompted to say. They need your life experiences, like Dan mentioned last week, that his bishop was like, no, they need you. You're doing the work of the Lord, not just by showing up, sitting, and being quiet. But when you're moved upon to share your testimony and open your mouth, you do it with power and authority. You make your comments. You teach the gospel to the kids in your primary class that you teach, or the young men or the young women, that kind of thing. But we'll finish in section 63. Because we could go on this section, I feel like, for hours, but we won't. We're already an hour in. But let's talk a little bit about section 63, verse 7. And he that seeketh signs shall see signs, but not unto salvation. So, like,
that's a theme we've talked a lot about, actually, is that we kind of want to. I like talking about the anachronisms, and there's horse. Did we talk about how they found the inscription of the elephant?
Yeah.
And I love all that stuff, but it's false. It's a trap.
Well, we talked about last week.
We're not going to prove our way to a stronger testimony.
We talked about last week, Travis, how the brethren, they don't address all this crap that they say they
never
hid,
talk about it,
and they don't address all the evidence either. Yet it's viral, right? Like, if you're looking like, hey, there's only 60 out of the 280 something anachronisms that are still, and like you're saying, that once they're all proven that they're not anachronisms, guess what? No one cares.
No one will
They're
care.
not going to be converted, right? I like in verse 9 though, behold, faith cometh not by signs, but signs follow those that believe. And as you talk to non-believers, not just in the LDS church, but in God, they're like, there's an all-powerful God and he wants you to believe in him, but then he doesn't come and introduce himself. He doesn't come and show himself. Like, these are sign seekers, right? I want to ask you guys sincerely, if you had to put a number, how many signs have you seen that God is real, miracles in the church? As believers, how many signs do you think you have seen?
I feel like you're asking in a couple different ways. Like one answer that comes to my mind is only a couple, but I think maybe you're asking in a way where maybe it's more like everything is a sign. Like,
well, hold on, Travis. It's more than a couple. You just shared one just out of nowhere. Your daughter believes she'd be healed, and she's healed. Is that a sign?
that's a good point.
Like we
poo-poo them.
signs follow
We
those that
discount
believe.
them.
Dude, yeah, we discount them all the time. We've all seen active LDS, 50 years old. You went on a mission. You've served faithfully and calling after calling after calling. How many signs have you seen? Dude, I bet you if you could have perfect recall,
Thousands.
you're in the thousands.
Total recall.
Yeah, if you could have like perfect recall. Hey, you said there's a big but in that one verse. And I'm like, finally, I understand what Sir Mix-a-Lot was
I like
talking about.
them.
He does not lying.
He does not lie,
He does it.
and no one can deny.
No. So, yeah, that's important. How many signs? I don't know. You've seen a sign?
I did
Well,
say
I was actually looking at the Dan. I'll go right to you in a second.
You're okay.
I went out, and my wife got a flat tire yesterday, and my son had been working on his car. He has a '92 Lexus SC400, which is
that's gorgeous.
It's a beautiful car.
Watch
but
out,
it's,
ladies.
but it's old.
How is
you
he
know, and
single
so
still?
He's always probably because of the car. He's always working on it. But he'd done this major repair, and it hadn't worked, and he was very frustrated. It was a hydraulic hose, and it burst off, so there's hydraulic fluid everywhere.
Oh, man.
And he came in, and then I went and got a Slurpee with him. I'm going a long way on this, but the point is I want you the state of mind that he's in. And we came back, we're relaxing finally. He's finally like, okay, it'll be cool. I'll just fix it tomorrow, and we'll carry on. And then we get a phone call, and Karen's got a flat tire. And I'm like, hey, buddy, let's go change this tire. And we drove up on Timpanogos Highway, and there she is, sure enough, and we pull over. And then the sun just kind of starts to set, and you know how the clouds get kind of pink, and then the moon was like floating in the sky in the daytime, kind of like daytime-ish, and you have the Rocky Mountains, like, and I was just like, how freaking amazing was that? And then, but I always discount those, 99.9.
Just the beauty of the earth stuff.
Just the beauty of the earth stuff, which, and then it revolves in a perfect course.
Yeah.
And Jupiter blocks like these different meteor showers from hitting us because of its gravitational well. It just blows your mind when you go into this stuff, and then we're like, yeah, but it was coincidence,
I don't know. Your spirit
But
recognizes those
that was
things.
just something that hit me yesterday, and there's one sign. I would have never thought of it as a sign if you hadn't called me out on it.
Yeah, no, and two things. One, when it comes to signs, kind of what Glenn was saying earlier is, signs. There's the, I guess, the faith that we have to put into the belief in the gospel before like those signs become visible. But I always think that the signs are always there, right? Because when you think about Heavenly Father as a father, right? When our kids are wayward, or they are struggling, or they aren't doing exactly what we want them to, we are always outstretching our hand and trying to show them that we love them, trying to we help them out, even if like they're off the rails, right? Like in those dire moments, like a flat tire, or they need to move, or maybe their job didn't pan out, now they have to move back home, whatever the case may be. We're always like outstretching our hand. So for me, I think of signs as they're always there. We just have to have the faith and the belief to be able to make them more visible and appreciate God's hand in our life on a regular basis. Because I think some people think that, hey man, I'm alone in this. Like there is no one coming. There is no help, right? And then as they, as opportunities come for them to be brought into the fold and be brought into the knowledge of a loving Heavenly Father who actually cares about us as an individual, as a person, all of our desires, all of our like stresses, everything that's going on in our life, like he's constantly stretching out his hand, right? And giving us opportunities to be like, hey, life might be stressful right now, but Like in the grand scheme of things, like I got you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think
those signs we're taught in verse 9 follow those that believe. And so here's what I love about the gospel. People can argue about the gospel all they want. The coolest thing about the gospel is there are promises made, and they're always fulfilled. And so it's like, you can try the Lord. He says, prove me now herewith. I talk about this all the time.
Right.
It's like people argue with you. And it's like, no. You can go to verse 12 and say, wherefore I, the Lord, am not pleased with those among you who have sought after signs and wonders for faith, and not for the good of men unto my glory. But it's like, we're told they follow those that believe. So if you want proof that God is real, if you want proof that the church is true, if whatever you want proven, who called them lazy learners? They just want a sign. They just want to have a book that's no more than 2 pages long that proves it's all true. The Lord's saying, no, it doesn't work that way. You have to believe. And in order to believe, as we read in Jacob, you have to act. And you have to follow swirling motions in your heart. And you have to follow promptings. And you have to make sacrifices, the law of sacrifice that we learn about, right? In the temple and everywhere else. So you have to put forth effort for the right reason. Guys, if you're just putting forth the effort so you can see a sign, you're done. You got to believe. You've got to believe and say, okay, man, it makes sense. And you don't have to believe out of nowhere. That's the beauty of the Lord. Like, you don't believe out of nowhere. Guys, you believe because it makes way more sense than not believing. It's way easier to believe in a creator than the Big Bang Theory. I'm sorry, it's way easier. So start with what's easy to believe. And the easy thing to believe is there's a God. And then that leads to the point, well, if there's a God, why am I here? Well, probably because he loves you. Well, what if it's hard, though? It's still probably because he loves you. Okay, so what do? I believe in him. So how do you show God that you believe in him? Well, he tells you in the scriptures, if ye love me, what?
Keep my commandments.
Keep my commandments. So you start making sacrifices, and then you start exerting faith, and you start doing it not to see signs, but to further your own belief. And as you do that, and as you try to show your Father that you love him, show your Savior that you love him, show that you care about not only them, but your fellow man, the second great commandment, love your neighbor, right? So help other people, right? So it's like, oh, okay, these little basic truths, if you just exert yourself a little bit, what is the promise? Signs follow those that believe.
Right.
But it's not if you're lazy. The intention has to be pure. It has to be right. You have to be willing to, guys, the law of sacrifice. What are you willing to put on the altar? If we knew we were going to talk, we talked about having a porn episode. I know there's a horrible porn epidemic because men open up about it now. They're just open about it now. If you could put that on the altar.
To clarify, not like an episode about porn, not a porn episode.
Yeah, again, my son last time made a comment like, don't do porn episodes on the Extra Mo show.
That's a good one.
Yeah, thank you.
Just want to correct that.
No one wants to see that. Actually, that's the sad part. There probably is just people that want to.
We could shock them
I don't
into
know
being
what is
cured.
wrong with them, dude. So anyway, right? So it's like, put that on the altar. Put your money, like, pay your tithing. Pay a generous fast offering. Show the Lord, like, I'm willing to sacrifice me for thee. And then what's the promise? Signs follow. And after so many years,
You know what's interesting about that, Glenn?
I
I have some Catholic friends, and I listen to a few podcasts by Catholics, and that's one thing they do during Lent. And often they'll they drink, but they'll be during Lent, I'm not going to drink alcohol or whatever. I'm going to get rid of social media. They give up something. They sacrifice. They sacrifice that thing, and that blessing exists. Like you said it earlier in the pod. That's just a blessing that exists, and it's tied to that principle. It isn't LDS thing.
yeah.
It's like anybody who will sacrifice and put it on the altar can have that blessing that comes from doing that. And so it's easy for me to talk about. You say it's tough to. I'm cursed with laziness when it comes to stuff, especially spiritual
like
stuff.
Lent, if I had to give up Monster.
Yeah.
You're like, well, now we know how Glenn died.
I'm like, I'm going to give up octopus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I guess we won't
I'm
eat
not
any of
having
that.
any.
No
That
more
was-
calamari.
Yep.
Go to verse 16, guys.
Hey, can
Verily
I-
I say unto you, as I have said before, he that looketh on a woman to lust after her, or if any shall commit adultery in their hearts, they shall not have the Spirit, but shall deny the faith and shall fear.
Ruh-roh.
Brethren, there's no room for it. There's no room for it.
Even if you're going to the mall and you walk past the Lululemon store,
Don't look at it.
you just look away.
It's
Curse
safe at
Lululemon.
Victoria's Secret now because they
Yeah.
put these like ugly ladies out there now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a cakewalk.
So now it's not like, oh look. Now it's like, ah!
Let's skip that store.
Thank you, Victoria's Secret.
Thank you, Victoria's Secret, for helping us keep our minds clean.
Lululemon,
What
the
do
new
you guys
Victoria's
think about
Secret.
this? The women. Here's what's amazed me, right?
I'm going to stay out of women. talk.
No, let's stir it, man. Let's stir it. What do you think about these women who are like? We
Okay,
talked
we're
about it
going
in
in.
an episode
Glenn's
already.
dragging you in.
Well, these men that are commanded not to look on a woman, this verse applies to you too. I keep seeing, gosh, dude, I saw 2 in the last 2 days at my business.
Okay.
These gals
All
who have
right.
now left the church,
Okay.
left their husband, got bolt-ons, right? Have them popping
well,
out everywhere. Sorry.
Bolt-ons?
Bolt-ons. I've not heard that one
Not heard
before.
that one.
Well,
either.
okay, let's see what you'd call them.
No, I get you. I get you.
I will say my best friend from high school from Tennessee, out of the blue, texted me there. He goes, so apparently Utah is number 1 in
Plastic surgery.
plastic
nation.
surgery.
Yeah.
And so tell me about this Mormon women. Why do they all have to have huge racks? This is my non-member friend. He just remembers that I'm a Mormon.
Yeah.
And then sees an article, and apparently that's the new big thing. Like Utah's the number 1 in plastic surgery. It's like, so
there's
is
probably
that part of your
There's
religion?
probably stuff to that
Is
statistic.
that part of your religion? Like all women have to have huge racks? And I'm like, well, no.
After they're done having our 12 children.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like it's actually these women that have like 35 kids and now they want a mommy makeover is where that business probably comes from.
Yeah, it could be true. So maybe it is
Hey,
related.
by the way, just for all those people out there, Utah at this point, there's less Mormons in Utah than non-Mormons. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, come
Utah is not Zion.
They still bust on me all
on.
the time.
Come on.
and say
Come
I'm
on. We're
ligaments.
not the only... There's other women getting
This is the way
plastic
it is.
surgery, too.
Well, they can't afford it. Utah's very prosperous. Think about all the things that factor into plastic surgery. It's elective. So the states that are going to have the highest plastic surgery are going to have the strongest economies. So you got,
I'm going to run for office and make it
got a lot of women want
non-elective.
money makeovers that have money floating
I'm
around.
going to get some insurance money for that.
Heck yeah, dude. They want to get in on it.
State-sponsored
State-sponsored bolt-ons.
I know a guy that
bolt-ons. I've never
a
heard
couple
of
of
that.
gals went down to Mexico. This is a true story. This isn't like urban legend. This is a guy I know knows these women.
All right.
They went down to Mexico to get the bolt-ons and everything and the mommy makeovers, and they came back and they were sick and everything and went to
no.
the doctor. They're both missing kidneys.
Are you kidding
Yeah,
me?
no, dead serious.
They probably have like a
This is like
scalpel
6
or a
months ago.
sponge stuck in them, too.
They came back and they're sick and they're
Bro.
like, you went under for a mommy makeover and the cartel took your kidney.
Wait, back up.
Yeah,
You're saying they came back without a kidney?
right.
Oh, I thought you meant they got like sick because of like I don't know.
No, they,
and then
they got the
that led
plastic
to a lost
surgery,
kidney.
and both of these women are missing a kidney.
That's
Well,
a
I
good.
mean, didn't that like
Hey,
compute?
Elon Musk
They have
doesn't
a
have
scar
to.
in the back.
He's not going to live forever without that. So I don't understand why you're mad about it. I mean, hey, look, the Lindowski twins or whatever that started Facebook with what's his face and Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Those guys are going to need new kidneys soon.
That's
So,
a good point.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy. So don't go to Mexico.
What do you even do?
Yeah.
Like, hey, cartel, I'm upset with you.
We were
like,
kind of going
why
off
do I
there.
have a scar
my
on my
question
back?
for the sisters,
give you a bad
and we'll
Google
move
review.
on. My question for the sisters is they don't care. They don't care
That
about the
was one
Google
star,
reviews
bro.
in Guadalajara.
Yeah, but
I mean, they look
it's
nice, but I am
50%
missing a
off.
kidney.
Okay, 3
my
stars.
My husband's
gosh.
happy, but I'm missing a kidney. Oh my gosh.
Lessons to be learned.
Okay,
Fudge.
what my point was, sisters, if that verse isn't just for the brethren, if you as a woman are trying to get men to look after you, to lust after you, to build your self-esteem, that's also not good for you. Cover, be modest. Know your worth, and I know that's not a popular thing, but that verse is for men and women.
Yeah, see our episode. Put your clothes back on.
Yeah, put your clothes. No, don't even say it. We got blocked. They have to edit that out. YouTube,
no, that was my fault because I tried to do a blurred out photo of a woman on the thumbnail, and it was.
So it looks like foreign.
I'll show you after this. I'll show you after
want to know what you were blurring out.
It was a little shady. Yeah. So
here's some cool promises to wrap up today. On him that keepeth my commandments, I will give the mysteries of my kingdom, and the same shall be in him a well of living water, springing up in everlasting life. Again, C.S. Lewis, not LDS. Do I believe that was fulfilled for him? I do. Every man should take righteousness in his hands and faithfulness upon his loins, and lift a warning voice unto the inhabitants of the earth. Guys, it's 3 sections in a row that's telling us our priesthood responsibility. It's not just to go to our meetings. It's not just to check off our checklist, pay tithing, go to the temple. It's lift our voice, share our testimonies. It's a big reason why this podcast exists.
In fact, it could be argued like the meetings are, as much as we complain about them, they're for us.
Yeah.
We're not doing the Lord a favor by going to Sunday school.
No.
It's for us.
Yeah.
And you know what? If the quality's not there, then that's where you're talking about. You don't have to be in leadership to be a leader. It's like, well, improve the quality.
Yeah.
Raise your hand. Yeah.
Say something.
Study, come follow me.
Yeah, it's too easy to criticize everybody.
Nobody reads the lesson beforehand, which we're supposed to, and then they're like, "There's no good discussion." Which actually, in my word, there usually is pretty good discussion. But
dare I say, even spice it up. Like I don't know, throw out giants, throw out something crazy.
Throw out Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah.
Whoa, guys!
Let's get controversial.
You said there's a big but in verse 27. I cannot lie.
I second it.
Right, let's talk about some
Brother Labram?
I don't know.
Seeing stones,
I
hats.
second it.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's go wild.
Hey, how cool
You raise your hand. You're like, so was he looking in a hat, or was what about horses?
You know what's so cool is even the church has adopted that he looked into a hat. No one knows, dude.
No one knows.
No one freaking knows. We just know what one dude said later.
I did see a documentary that was a cartoon about it.
Yeah,
and it looked like it was true.
Oh, on South
dude,
Park.
That's South Park.
That's doctrine. I love how the Eskimos are pouncing on it. How weird, how stupid you fell for this and you looked in a hat. How do you know? Because someone said that. Who?
It was
I don't know.
episode
Matt
of South
Stone.
Park.
John Delaney. He had a document of some guy. And he was there. He was there. Dude, we have stuff that happened yesterday, and I know a guy was there, and the story of what happened isn't even anywhere near what really happened. Because the other, hey, how cool is this promise, though, John Delaney? How cool is this? He that is faithful and endureth shall overcome the world. Don't give up. Don't give up. I would say that's a good summary today. If you do struggle with sin, lusting after women, whatever, if you aren't comfortable in temple ceremonies and you think there's something wrong with you, if you are afraid to open your mouth, I don't want to offend anyone. Some of you are reserved. Some of you, like, it's real easy for someone like me to say, where my spiritual gift is, you've been through enough growing up that now you fear nothing. And that's my spiritual gift. I'll get in front of the whole world and, like, I don't even care. I'll just share my testimony knowing they're all going to shoot me. I don't care. Like, so it's easy for someone like me to say, be brave and do this. It doesn't necessarily mean open your mouth. What we talked about today is find your gift. If your gift is to be compassionate, you can be a mute. But when he's saying open your mouth, it means go be compassionate for somebody. Go be there. Like,
find your gift, dude. That's a good one.
Yeah, dude. Like, open your mouth doesn't just mean open your mouth and be a loud mouth and make comments. It means find your gift and use it to build the kingdom. And what are the promises that we read? 1, you'll overcome the world. 2, signs will follow thee.
I love it.
You know?
I love that, Glenn. Find your gift and use it. When I think we should end on that.
I think we should end on that.
Find your gift.
Dan, do you think we should end on that?
Let's land this plane.
I should have concurred.
All right.
Well, let's do this then. We need your help. Like, subscribe, make some comments. You'll be able to have an argument with Glenn. He'll probably take either side too. You can make any neutral comment. He'll argue with you on it.
We welcome the negative comments. We want more.
Yeah.
Like, just don't rip on my fashion choice, though. I am like
Those pants,
Yeah.
He
baby.
secretly wants you to rip on his fashion choice.
no.
He secretly is like,
No, yeah,
please
no.
bring it.
No,
I dare you.
I get enough of my kids telling me how stupid I look all the time. I don't need it. Okay, you can.
It's fine.
Yeah,
can do
it's
it.
okay.
He's fine.
All right. So like, subscribe, comment, share our podcast with anyone you think might need it. I know that some of you are out there, and even if you aren't listening, you struggle, you feel alone. Well, you're not. You got Glenn and I. You got producer Dan. Tonight you got Mike.
Yeah, baby.
You know, we believe that Joseph Smith saw God, literally, and that he created, with God's help, the restored church on the earth today. So
And
go
for
find
you,
your gift.
for you Christians that have doubts too about just Christianity, look into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I think it'd be a cool episode if we just did 2 regular dudes teaching you what Mormonism is. Just like, hey, guys, if you lost a family member who didn't believe, they're okay. They're okay. They're going to be okay. That's the LDS doctrine, man. You're all going to be okay. John DeLynn is going to be okay.
Yeah, for sure. Even though we like making fun of him, which we shouldn't.
But we love it.
Well, I'm going to ask for forgiveness for that again.
I will eventually. I have too much fun with it now.
Down the lane.
Darn.
Like, subscribe.